Hey everybody, this is the Longhorn Confidential for Tuesday, December 17th. I'm Danny Davis with the Austin American-Statesman, joined today by Cedric Golden, David Eckert, Thomas Jones. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get right to it. College football playoff kicks off on Friday, but on Saturday over at DKR, Texas will be hosting Clemson. Battle of the number 5 and number 12 seeds. Texas is 11 and 2, Clemson 10 and 3. As with most things, this is going to be a matchup about quarterbacks. Texas says all, if you're watching this, you know Quinn Ewers is your guy. Cade Klubnik is the quarterback for Clemson, and Austin area football fans know Cade because he went to Westlake High School just up the road. So we'll start with the quarterbacks. Both have had good seasons this year. Both have had a lot to talk about. But who you got? Said we'll start with you. Do you got Cade, the local boy, or do you got number 3, the guy we've been covering for the last 3 years?
I like them both, Daniel. I like them both. Hard to pick against Quinn Ewers at the house. I think Quinn's best games, some of his best games have come on the road, and he struggled a little bit early at home, but he knows this is his last home game at the University of Texas, and it's do or die. And he's got to be really good against a pretty good Clemson team that, in my opinion, can be had, but he can't give them free possession. So I'm going with Quinn Ewers. I think he's got the better line when he's playing well, and he's got a bevy of weapons outside. So give me some Quinn Ewers at home against Clemson.
Thomas, you've covered Cade in high school. You've covered Quinn in college. You've written about both extensively this week. Seems like it's kind of been your beat the last couple days. Uh,
Mhm.
what do you think of this matchup, Cade versus Quinn?
I gotta admit, I'm probably biased because I did cover Cade a lot in high school and I never saw him lose a game. He was 30 and 0 at Westlake as a state
Wow.
quarterback, as a high school quarterback, 30 and 0, won 2 state titles, big boy football, 6A D1 D2. But I like Cade in this game because he can move. Quinn, he's not much of a runner. We all know that. And when he does, he sometimes gets himself in trouble. Cade, if things break down, and they probably will with that Texas pass rush, he can move. He's a great athlete. He can make plays off script. That's why I like him a little bit better than Quinn.
David, who's your pick?
I, Quinn is so hard to talk about just because we're constantly pitting what he has been this year against what we know he can be, right? And those don't line up. So if you're taking performance this year, I think Cade has been the better quarterback. He's obviously a dual threat guy, as TJ mentioned. That's going to be a valuable asset against a really fierce Texas rush. We kind of saw in that Georgia game what that dual threat backup was able to do a little bit, just kind of get the rush off him a little bit. I'm going with Cade in this game.
I'm gonna go with Quinn. Maybe not so much because Quinn versus Cade, stat for stat, all the abilities versus all the abilities. But I just think Texas in this game is going to be able to run the ball. Clemson does not have a good run defense, and that is going to enable Quinn to not have to do everything. And I think Quinn, when he is playing in the system, when they are um, a balanced offense, I think he's really good. When he's not being asked to throw it 40, 50 times and make throws he shouldn't be making. I think when this offense is balanced, I think he's a pretty good quarterback. We've talked about the game manager thing enough this season. I think when he is in that role, I think he is good. And also, Cade is going to be facing the best defense he's faced all season, arguably. I know they faced Georgia early on this season, and that's just not the case for Quinn going against this Clemson defense. So give me Quinn, give me number 3. I think he's going to do what he needs to. Cade may end up having better stats, but I think Quinn is going to do what he needs to do to get this Texas team the victory. We're going to go back to Thomas on this one. We'll let David think about this a little bit because he's the only one of us who does not really know much about the high school scene. All three of us, me, Seth, and Thomas, have covered high schools at some point, have seen a Westlake football game in our life. But in addition to Cade attending Westlake, 3 members of this Texas football team, Michael Taft, Colton Vasek, Ethan Burke, also attended Westlake. All 3 of those won a state championship with Cade while at Westlake. Michael Taft was on that 2020 team that beat Quinn Ewers and that South Lake Carroll team in the state championship game. So it's a big day for Westlake on Saturday. In addition to the high school reunion at DKR, the Chaps are playing in a state championship game at 7 o'clock up in Arlington. So if you're a Westlake football fan, you're going to have plenty of football to watch. But for our intents and purposes, Thomas, we'll start with you. Which Chaparral has the best game on Saturday? Excuse me.
Look, if you grow up in Westlake and you have the nickname Mookie like Michael Taft does, you got to be a player. Taft's a player. Taft's going to have a really good game. He talked about this week. He knows some of the tendencies of Cade Klubnik and vice versa. I think Taft knows enough about Cade to kind of bait him on a couple of snaps, and I think I think Mookie Michael Taft gets at least one pick. I think he has a big game. I think he'll be the chaparral player of the game Saturday at DKR.
Westlake Nation, Joe Taylor, stand up. Cedric, who you got?
I got to go with Mookie as well. Mookie, who's a man of faith and a Christ lover. He told us on Monday, Daniel and David. Thomas was out on Monday, but he said his job is to take someone's soul. I'm like, man, that's you went from Christ to the Antichrist. That scared. That kind of made me shiver. And disrespected by the SEC coaches. He's definitely one of the best safeties in the SEC. Nowhere to be found on that team, but he gets third team All America. So some real unbiased people were voting for the All American team, and good for Michael Taft. I really think that he and Andrew Makuba. I know that Jade gets all the love because he's one of the best defensive backs in the country, won the Thorpe. But Michael Taft and Andrew Makuba, you won't find a better safety tandem in the country than those two. You got Michael as the quarterback and Andrew Makuba is the enforcer. And I think that they are going to wreak havoc in this game. I think they may both get a turnover in this game. I know one will get a turnover and the other will get a sack. And I think Michael Taft has been chomping at the bit for this. This is why he came to Texas, guys, to win a national championship. And they're 4 wins away. And I don't think he's going to let Clemson stand in the way of him in another trip to Atlanta.
I believe Michael was a second team All-American, if I recall correctly.
Second or third.
I think it
He
was
may have
second.
been second. I'll look. Second. He's on
But
there. He's in there.
give me Ethan Burke. Why not? I think this
Where's
defense.
he been? He's been kind of quiet since the A&M game, man. He didn't do much against Georgia.
Well, there weren't a lot of Texas Longhorns who did anything against Georgia.
That's
I
true.
think,
Good
this
point.
defensive line, when I talk about being overlooked, I mean, that entire unit was, horrendously overlooked by the SEC coaches on that all SEC team. Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Colin Simmons, Baron Sorrell, they all deserved some all SEC love. That doesn't include Ethan Burke, who has maybe underachieved this season, but he did have that good play against A&M. And Texas is going to need its edge rushers this weekend against this Clemson team. And Ethan, is good for a couple good plays a game. And hopefully, if you're a Westlake fan and a Texas fan, that big play comes at an opportune moment against his former teammates. So because I think Texas needs a lot from its defensive line in this game, I'll go with Ethan Burke, but also, Michael Taft's a very good selection. It's hard to go against him, or it's hard to go against Cade if that's who David's going with. But David, who's your pick?
Yeah, I think the actual answer is Cade, but since we just talked about him a bunch, I'm going to also talk about Ethan Burke. I just think, you know, he's somebody between Cade and obviously Clemson has a really, really physical run game as well. And so what I think Ethan gives you with his size is the ability to put somebody on the field who can rush the passer effectively without really giving up a bunch of size and weight to kind of throw around in that physical run game. That maybe a Colin Simmons type does because he's not fully filled out yet as a freshman, right? So I think somebody with his body type can be really useful in this game. So I'll go with him as my token pick, I guess.
As the number 5 seed, Texas enters this game as a heavy favorite. I believe 11.5 points was the last time I checked. This game is at 3 p.m. on Saturday. TNT will broadcast it. But after around 7 o'clock when this game is over, if Texas is walking off the field going into the offseason because they lost, it's because of blank. Why? What does Clemson need to do to win this game? Seth, we'll start with you.
if Cade Klubnik gets loose with his legs, Texas is going to be in trouble. They're going to be in trouble. They have done such a good job against guys who can move. Diego Pavia, Taylon Green, Marcel Reed. They've done a really good job. David has covered the SEC. Carson Beck can move. He can run. I've seen him. I've seen him get loose. So if they allow him to get loose, and he has had a rush of at least 10 yards in 10 of the 12, 13 games, 10 of the 13 games. He's had at least one rush. He has run for over 400 yards. That's a lot for a quarterback, man. So they've got to contain him, his legs. He's going to make some plays with his arm. He's a talented cat. But if you allow him to get loose in the secondary with his legs, chunk plays, extending drives, staying ahead of the chains, when plays break down, Texas could be in for a long afternoon. That could get them beat.
For me, the math is simple. If Texas doesn't establish the run, they're not going to win this game. I talked about it earlier when I was talking about my Quinn answer. 60 yards over 55 carries in the 2 Georgia losses. Granted, that's Georgia, and we don't want to compare every team to Georgia because Georgia's a different beast. But Texas is averaging nearly 190 rushing yards in its other 11 games, which is all wins. So Quintervian Weisner, Jaden Blue, they need to do their part. Trey's been pretty almost too honest on some of his availabilities. He took the first Georgia loss on himself, said he didn't do his part, even though he had like 50 rushing yards in that game, which wasn't necessarily fair to him. But I think he knows and Jaden both know that they need to help establish that running game. So the passing game works too, because this needs to be a balanced offense in order for it to work. David, what's your pick?
Yeah, I think if Texas loses this game, it's because they do it in the margins, right? Turnovers, special teams. I mean, my goodness, they just need competent special teams play, for the love of God. I mean, it's
Make a kick.
It's really, yeah. And the punting too, it hasn't been good. So, and Texas, the thing about it is my pick is Texas in this game, but Texas has shown a willingness to, hey, we'll give you an extra possession or two. Hey, we're one of the worst special teams teams in the country. That's something that they have to guard against. And, I expect Texas to play better on defense. I expect them to play better on offense. But, this is one of those games where maybe you can't expect to do that by such a margin that giving the ball away and being terrible on special teams doesn't matter. So that, to me, they just need to take care of the football, not be stupid on special teams, and I think they'll be okay.
TJ, if Texas loses and Clemson wins, it's because of
I'll go with David. That special teams is Texas is mind-bogglingly bad this year after being so good with Sarkisian and special teams coach Jeff Banks over the 3 previous years. And also, you got to execute in the red zone. Texas pushed Georgia around for much of that game in the SEC title game. They didn't finish drives. And Clemson, I think, is good enough athletically, good enough at quarterback, and good enough in coaching that they will hang tight with Texas. I think it'll be closer than the Vegas odds makers think. I don't think it'll be 11. So if Texas loses, it's because they're kicking field goals or trying field goals with Bert Auburn instead of punching it into the end zone. You got to finish in the red zone.
Kicking them, trying them, not making them, maybe.
That's whoosh.
Is it time for Bert to get a haircut? I know I'm not hating. I know. I'm not hating, but
let's not speak out of jealousy, Sad. I'm with you.
I'm just asking because when you're 29 out of 32 at those great locks, it's kind of cool. But when you're missing field goals, something's got to change. Maybe Samson needs to maybe trim some of those golden locks. I don't know.
Where's Delilah when you need her, man?
Everybody needs a Delilah, TJ. Everybody needs a Delilah. I married one.
There are some people at home wondering what we are talking about.
What are we talking about?
I'm one of them. I have no idea. Zero clue.
Nobody reads the Bible on this show. No one reads the Bible. Daniel, you go to Greater Mount Zion. I know you read the Bible. I know you read the Bible.
Michael Taft does. But as we mentioned,
and he invested in Bitcoin too. He's well-rounded.
As we mentioned, this game is at 3 o'clock on Saturday. TNT will broadcast, but it is not the only playoff game. There's four playoff games starting on Friday with Indiana Notre Dame. We also have SMU Penn State on Saturday, as well as Tennessee and Ohio State. We'll be all in the press box on Saturday, so we may not be able to get all the games, but those other three games, David, we'll start with you. Which game are you looking forward to the most? And if you say Penn State, I'm just going to call you a homer.
It's not Penn State. I'm really excited about Indiana Notre Dame, actually. Maybe partially because it's probably the only one I'll get to see. But I don't know. I think Indiana's really fun. That's an in-state. You probably can't call it a rivalry because I mean we're talking about Indiana football here, but it's an in-state game. Kind of close quarters, and it's I think one of the best stories in college football against a traditional power. So I'm interested to see if Indiana's legit because I still don't really think we know, and I think that'll be a really fun game.
TJ, which game are you looking forward to?
First of all, I didn't realize how much I would love this expanded playoff until the last few days when you really start looking at these matchups.
Cool.
Man, it's so fun. Look, SMU at Penn State, man.
Nice.
I know David's a Penn State guy. You got your old school blue blood Penn State. They've been good since Paterno coached them in the 1800s. And then SMU's that kind of new kid on the block. I love Kevin Jennings. I love that quarterback from South Oak Cliff. What can SMU do up in, what do they call it, Happy Valley?
Yep,
David?
Happy Valley.
Okay. Let's see how happy Penn State is having to deal with this weird matchup. And just the uniform matchup for you nerds like me. SMU and Penn State, really?
I think SMU wins, TJ. I got
Awesome.
SMU in that game.
Yeah, but I know the type of Penn State fan you are. Paranoid one. That's my game to watch. I think they'll all be great.
Danny, I'm gonna go with Ohio State and Tennessee. I really think Tennessee's going to get after Ohio State. I just do. I think Dylan Sampson's overlooked, and I think the Ohio State Buckeyes are very challenged offensively. I like Will Howard. I don't love it. We watched Will Howard Kansas State. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. But I really think that Nico in that offense going to get going. I really like that matchup. I mean, I'm telling you, the only game that people don't think is going to be competitive is the one we're going to be at. And I'm not sure about that 11.5, guys. I'm not. I think it's going to be close. But the Texans ain't blowing anybody out in a minute. Florida, that's the last one. So I really like all the games. I'm really interested in the Ohio State Tennessee game. I think SEC football is faster and more athletic than Big Ten football. And I think Ohio State's going to have some problems in this one.
I think Ohio State and Tennessee is probably the matchup that features both teams that could win this entire thing. I don't think you could say that about the other matchups, but I'm really interested to see if SMU can beat Penn State. I think SMU has a chance to really do something in this state. I think most people, with the way Texas is going, kind of see Texas as the state powerhouse, but SMU is just kind of lurking there. And they at least have a chance to be number two, and maybe with a playoff rank, kind of make their argument for number one. That is a school that has a lot of money and a lot of talent in the Dallas area, and they can do something this weekend. They can fully establish themselves as a in-state power. I think Baylor and TCU and Tech are kind of wandering in purgatory. Houston is not a player yet, even though there's a lot of talent there in that area. And then A&M is there, but that's just an 8-win team every year. If SMU can do something this weekend, I think they can fully establish themselves, say we're here, and make themselves into an in-state power. So, but you have to win, and they have a chance to do that this weekend against Penn State. Although it's probably a little bit chillier up there in Pennsylvania than it is.
What's the forecast, Eckert? What's the forecast for State College?
I don't know. It snowed there yesterday. They were cleaning the snow off. I was
SMU may not even leave Dallas. You know how Texans react to snow. We just shut down. They make the game.
I was back in PA for a long weekend this weekend, and it was 9 degrees one morning when I woke up. So that was fun.
I'm so glad you left, man. I'm so glad you're down here with us. I mean, it was 75 today when I went to the gym. I mean, Who wouldn't want to be in Austin in mid-December? This is what it's all about.
Yeah, luxury, luxury.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We have a very busy week ahead of us. In addition to all the football stuff, we have some basketball going on. The women, we're taping this on Tuesday. They hope host LaSalle tonight. That's going to be a blowout. But South Dakota State on Sunday should be a good test for them as they get ready to South Dakota, get ready for SEC play starting on the 2nd next month. And then men's basketball has some games too. TJ just got off an availability with them, so they'll be busy over there at the Moody Center as well. Said who
Thursday night, New Orleans.
Privateers, baby.
On Felix.
I think I'm gonna be there, TJ. I'm gonna be there with you. Yeah.
Sorry.
On second thought, Daniel, you're about to ask. I've got a big fish on the. It's not on the hook yet, but we're definitely publishing. We're definitely recording. This week it's going to drop on Thursday. Look for a really big name. He likes me, so I think he's going to say, yeah. I just texted him a few minutes ago. Everybody knows him. Anyone want to guess?
Barack Obama.
He's been to every Texas game for the last 25 years.
Well, it can't be McConaughey because he only shows up to the big ones.
Craig Way. I'm going to try to get Craig Way on the podcast. Voice of the Longhorns. Busiest man in show business, Craig Way. So we'll see.
I think he's doing the women's game tonight. I'm sure he's doing the men game on Thursday, and obviously he'll be up in the press box with us on Saturday. On Saturday on statesman.com throughout the day, you can read all of our coverage, including stuff going on in-game, post-game, and then whatever's happening after the game as we either get you ready for the next round of the postseason against Arizona State or next season. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. But thanks for tuning in to us, listening to us wherever you get your podcast, and watching us on YouTube or on statesman.com. And yeah, we'll see you all down the road. Deuces.